In this video, we're going to take a look at exam revision for rearranging harder formulae. So all we're going to do here is take a look at some exam style questions for rearranging harder formulae. As always, what I would recommend is that you pause the video, have a go at the questions as they appear, and double check that your solution matches what we get on the screen. Let's get started here with question 1, where we estimate x the subject of x plus y equals 6 bracket xy plus 4. So to begin with here, all I'm going to do, I'm just going to write down this equation. We've got x plus y is equal to 6 bracket xy plus 4. So if we're making x a subject here, the first issue that we have is we have x on both sides. We've got an x here on the left hand side, and on the right hand side here we've got this xy inside the bracket. So to begin with here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to expand this single bracket here on the right hand side. Obviously the left hand side won't change, so we're going to get x plus y here on the left hand side. On the right hand side now, we're going to get 6 times xy giving me 6xy. And then 6 times 4 here giving me 24. So now, like we said here, all we want to do is get just x on its own on one side, and then everything else on the other side on its own. So there's two ways you could do this. I could take this x here onto this side, and then move everything else onto the other side, or I could take this 6xy here onto the left hand side, and everything here on the left hand side that's not involving x onto the other side. Okay, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to subtract 6xy off both sides. So basically I'm getting rid of this 6xy here on the right hand side. So minus 6xy here off both sides. So in that case then, on the left hand side here we're going to get x minus 6xy, and then don't forget the plus y here. And that's going to be equal to 24. And then basically anything that doesn't involve x here on the left hand side, we now need to make that basically disappear off the left hand side and put it onto the other side. So the way that I'm going to do that here, subtract y off both sides. So minus y off both sides. On the left hand side here we'll get x minus 6xy. And that will be equal to 24 minus y. Okay, so from here, we're just looking to make x a subject. So what I need to do now, factor x out here from the left hand side. So we'll get x lots of 1 minus 6y. And that will be equal to 24 minus y. And then we're nearly done here. All we're looking for now is x equals. So all I need to do then, divide through by this 1 minus 6y. In that case, then on the left hand side here, we'll get simply x on its own, and that is equal to 24 minus y, all divided by 1 minus 6y there. Okay, and there we have it. So that would make x a subject there and give us the solution to question 1. Like I said, you could also do this the other way of taking x off both sides here. And what I would recommend is just have a quick look at that, see if you can get the other solution here. They would both be correct. You wouldn't get penalized for doing, say, this solution here rather than the other one. It's just a quick little exercise there, just to verify that you can get the other solution as well. Okay, but there we have it. So that's the solution there to question 1. If we take a look now at question 2 here, we're asked to make C the subject of the formula. My formula here is A equals 3 lots of B minus C all over 2C. So to begin with here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write in this formula, or this equation here. Got A equals 3 lots of B minus C. That's all divided here by 2C. So straight away, if we're making C the subject here, I can see I've got this 2C in the denominator here. So I want to get rid of that denominator. And to do that, I'm going to multiply through by 2C. So times both sides here by 2C. On the left hand side, we'll get 2AC. And on the right hand side here, we'll just get left with the numerator here of 3 lots of B minus C. So now what we want to do here is expand this bracket on the right hand side. So we're just expanding this single bracket here. Obviously the left hand side won't change. That will remain as 2AC. My right hand side here will become 3B minus 3C. We get 3B minus 3C. So now we're making C the subject here. But what I need to do now is just collect anything that involves C on one side of this equation and then everything else on the other side. So all I need to do here now is just add 3c to both sides, get rid of this minus 3c here on the right hand side. We'll add 3c here to both sides. On the left hand side, we're going to get 2ac plus 3c, and that will be equal to 3b. So now what we want to do here, we want to make c the subject, and I now need to factor the c out here from the left hand side. I'm going to get c lots of 2a plus 3, and that's going to be equal to 3b. And then finally here, we're making c the subject. I just need to get rid of this 2a plus 3 here. And to do that, we just divide both sides by 2a plus 3. On the left-hand side here, we'll just simply get c equals, we're going to get 3b divided by 2a plus 3 there. Okay, so 2a plus 3 there. And there we have it. So that's the solution there to question 2. If we take a look at question 3 here, we're asked to make x a subject of y equals the square root of x plus a all over x minus 5. So to begin with here, let's just write down this equation. So y is equal to the square root of x plus a all over x minus 5. So the first issue that I notice here, we're making x a subject, is we've got this square root here on the right hand side. So how do we get rid of the square root here? Well, we just do the opposite. So what's the opposite of taking the square root? Well, that would be to square here. Okay, so I'm going to square both sides. On the left hand side, we simply get y squared. And on the right hand side here, if we square this square root here, then we just get left with whatever's underneath the square root here. We'd get x plus a, all over x minus 5. Okay. So now, because my denominator here involves x, we want to get rid of this denominator. So to do that, we're going to multiply both sides by x minus 5. On the left hand side here, we get y squared bracket x minus 5. And on the right hand side here, we'd get x plus a. Okay, so I've just multiplied both sides here by x minus 5. So on the right hand side here, when you multiply this fraction by x minus 5, you simply get left with the numerator here of x plus a. So now, we need to expand this single bracket here. I'm going to get x y squared. And then we get minus 5y squared. And that will be equal to x plus a. Okay. So here now we're looking to get x as the subject. What I need to do now is get anything that involves x on one side of this equation and everything that doesn't involve x on the other side of the equation. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract x off both sides. So minus x and minus x here on both sides. On the left hand side we get xy squared. We get xy squared. We then get minus x here. And then minus 5y squared. So don't get the minus 5y squared here. And that will be equal to just a here on the right hand side. That's just equal to a. So now, if we take a look at the left hand side here, we've got xy squared, we've got minus x, which is fine. This minus 5y squared here, that doesn't involve x, we want to get rid of that. So to do that, we're going to add 5y squared to both sides. Okay. So in that case then, we're going to get xy squared. We get xy squared minus x here on the left hand side. On the right hand side here, we're going to get 5y squared plus a. So 5y squared plus a here. So we're nearly there now. If we're making x a subject, I now need to factor an x out here on the left hand side. So let's just go to the top here to finish this here then. So we factor the x out now. We're going to get x lots. We get x lots here of y squared minus 1. Y squared minus 1 there. And that will be equal to 5y squared plus a, like so. And then finally, if we just want to make x a subject here, we just need to get rid of this y squared minus 1. And we can do that here by dividing both sides by y squared minus 1. In that case, then on the left-hand side here, we just simply get x. So x is equal do 5y squared plus a. So 5y squared plus a, then we just divide by y squared minus 1. Y squared minus 1. And there we have it. So that's the solution there to question 3. And finally then, if we take a look at the very last question here, question 4, we're asked to make z the subject of x equals y plus 3z all over y squared plus 5z. So to begin with here, let's just write down this equation. So x is equal to y plus 3z. And that's all over y squared plus 5z. Y squared plus 5z here. So now we're making z the subject here. Straight away I notice I've got this z here, or this 5z in my denominator. We want to get rid of the denominator here of this fraction. And to do that here, what we're going to do, we're going to multiply both sides by y squared plus 5z. On the left hand side here, we get x lots of y squared plus 5z. On the right hand side here, we'd simply get left with the numerator. I'm going to get y plus 3z. So from here now, what I want to do is expand this single bracket here on the left hand side. So we'll get x y squared. Then we'll get 5xz. Like so. And this will be equal to y plus 3z. So obviously the right hand side here won't change. We've not done anything to that. So here we're making z the subject. So what I want to do now, select anything that involves z on one side of this equation, and anything that doesn't involve z on the other side of the equation. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to get rid of this 3z here on the right hand side, and to do that I'm going to subtract 3z off both sides. Okay. But in that case I'm going to get xy squared here. We'll get xy squared. We'll get 5xz. 5xz. Then we minus 3z. And that is all equal to y. So from here then, on the left hand side, what doesn't involve z now? Well, that would be the xy squared here. What I'm going to do then is subtract xy squared both sides. In that case then, we're going to get here 5xz. Get 5xz minus 3z. That's my left hand side. On the right hand side here, we're going to get y minus xy squared. So y minus xy squared. So from here now, we're looking to make z the subject. So what I want to do now is factor the z out here on the left hand side. We'll get z lots of 5x minus 3 here. And that's all equal to y minus xy squared. Like so. And then finally, we're making z the subject here. All I want to do now is factor, oh, sorry, not factor, but divide through now by this 5x minus 3. Okay? Because what that would do here, that would simply give me z here on the left hand side. So z is equal to y minus xy squared. Y minus xy squared. And that's all divided here by 5x minus 3. Okay? And there we have it. So what we've done there is we've made z the subject, and that's given us the solution there to the very last question, question 4. And that brings the end of this video on exam revision for rearranging harder formulae. In the next video, we're going to take a look at an introduction to the quadratic formula.